Hello, everyone. It's Graham Coath with another My Music. It's my favourite time of the day when I get to chat to someone about music and forget about spreadsheets and writing copy and all of the other things that I've spent my entire life doing. So today I'm going to be speaking to Avelia, all about her life in music, jazz, musicals, all of that sort of thing. But first, this.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Avelia, thanks for joining me. And thanks.
Pleasure.
We've already been having a lovely discussion about feedback and the fact that singers quite often wander in front of speakers when they're playing live. And you commented, thank you very much, but you also commented on my poll this morning about colour.
I did. I love colour. I happened to see it and I was like, oh, I love colour. And you only gave 4 choices. That's just not enough.
I did for a reason.
I'm sure there was a reason. I felt there must be a reason, but pink.
Yeah.
But hey.
Well, two of them were very close, which was pink and red.
Yeah, very.
Do you know, but pink is a very bad colour to actually paint a lot of rooms, especially if they're quite small rooms. Well, actually some experiments were done with this, and it was found that a prison was actually painted pink once, and it enraged everybody because pink is on its way towards anger.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Pink isn't a calming colour.
Interesting.
Yeah. In fact, red is a better colour than pink.
That is amazing. I remember my grandpa, he used to wear pink when he was a baby and a little, because when he was born, pink was the boy's colour.
Right.
And I was really shocked when I went, when my daughter, who is now 21, when I went shopping for clothes for her when she was a baby, I couldn't believe how it was pink and blue everywhere. I'm thinking, have we not got past that? I mean, I'm not saying everybody should be gender neutral, but colours, anybody can wear any colour. So why have we got the massive pink section and massive blue section?
We still do.
Yeah.
No, that's the
I know.
That's the case. We still do.
It shocked me.
And there's all of that lovely variety of colour out there.
Yeah.
And it was a great. Anyone that wants to see this, by the way, if you're on LinkedIn, you can. I know this is being broadcast to several platforms, but if you're on LinkedIn and you find my profile on there, you can take part in the wonderful debate that is colour and choice of colours this morning. But there are, and people were coming up with some lovely colours that you know, actual very specific types of yellow or very specific types of brown or whatever, which is absolutely lovely.
I'm quite glad to see several people had purple. That's one of mine. So
yes, Moonling, who's listening, says pink every time.
Fair enough.
There you go. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did music start for you?
Well, kind of all the way back on my mum's side. There's my great granddad, who obviously I never met, but he was a cornet player in the south of England, and he was quite well known, I believe. My gran had an echo cornet before I started playing. I mean, she must have got rid of it. You need
to explain that to people. What's an echo cornet?
An echo cornet, they don't do them as far as I know anymore, but it's a bit like, if you know what a mute like, you can stick a mute in the end of the bell and it kind of makes the sound smaller. And with this one, you could just press another valve or a button or something, and it would go down, instead of going out through the bell, it would go down this little echo bit. So it would sound, you could go da 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 and just play really quickly from one to the other. Yeah.
Wow.
And my great granddad had one, but I didn't start playing trumpet till I was 12. By that time, I think, well, she probably got rid of it before I was born, but I was like, no, I could have had that. But yeah, so him, and then my gran was a musician, and I mean, she taught most of the time I knew her, but she could have gone to Europe doing opera and stuff, and her parents wouldn't let her, because that was back in the 20s. She was quite old when she had my mum, so it's kind of, but yeah, she went being a courier or whatever, like a travel guide or whatever instead. I'm like, how is that better? She still managed to do that. So anyway, but yeah, so
perhaps she took her music with her.
Maybe she did. Maybe
Perhaps
she
she was
sang in the
a
hills.
singing travel guide.
Yeah, maybe she was. She never mentioned that bit. But yeah, my mum was a musician as well. She was a fabulous pianist. And my brother is a pianist. He lives in London, Alvin. He's an amazing pianist, actually, an accompanist and stuff. So it's a bit in the family. Not on the other side. The other side, my dad was a mathematician, and my gran was in service at 14. So it was a totally different setup.
But then a lot of people see the similarities between maths and music.
I did them for A-levels. I did both. So I really like maths as well, but not as much as playing my trumpet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it helps. The mathematical bit helps if you want to read music and you want to understand the structure of music.
There's a lot of logic in music. If you understand the logic and you understand how it works, it's so much easier to deal with.
Yeah, as long as you then have the creative bit that then wants to pick all of the logic to pieces.
Yeah, or just ignore it and just get on, you know. So it's like, it's that real right brain, left brain thing, isn't it? It's like you've got one part is really logical and really focused on detail, and the other part is flying, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I do like the idea of this echo thing, but I guess these days you wouldn't actually need that, because if you wanted to do that, technology would allow you to do that with a some kind of foot pedal or whatever. You could literally just play it and
I suppose so. But I mean, that would have been in a brass band or something. That would have been no mics or anything. You could just do it. I think.
I think they should bring that back. They should bring it back.
It would be quite amazing to have one. You know, you'd never use it very often, but it would be quite amazing to have one.
Yeah. What great fun. So, what in terms of your own kind of musical education? Obviously, your family were very musical, but when you were old enough for your earliest memories, what did you start listening to?
All sorts. I mean, I was, well, actually, when I say all sorts, classical, hello, classical and pop, really, to start with. And I didn't get into jazz till after I left college, and I started working, and then I ended up in a band that all they did was, well, it was music theatre, but it was also jazz based, and they all knew all about that, and I knew literally nothing. And they're talking about really famous jazz musicians. I'm going, who's that? And then, what do you know? What do you mean you don't know that person? I'm thinking, well, do you know all the people I know? People like that. And they if they know something and you don't, they like to take the mick.
And you were like, I know Johnny hates jazz. I'm not sure who Johnny is, but I know he hates jazz.
But yeah, it's that thing. People always like, if you don't know something they do, they sort of look down on you and sort of just go, well, why don't you know that? And I'm thinking, but I know other things that you probably don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's an armistice today. It's fine. No one's picking on you. So tell me some of those early bits of music that you might have listened to. What was the pop that you were listening to? Or
what was the pop? Oh goodness, all sorts of things. Elton John and Sting and Carole King and all those kind of people. I used to love all the, some of the
real songwriters then.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as I said it, and I mean, I never thought I could write songs ever. And it was one of those things other people did, and it never crossed my mind. I knew I could play my trumpet. I knew I could sing because I'd sung ever since I was born. I couldn't help myself. But songwriting was just something other. And yet, actually, the people I listened to were the songwriters. And yeah, it's sort of beginning to come out in me now. I'm beginning to sort of believe I can write songs a little bit and get some stuff out there, which is quite nice.
Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it. I believe I can write songs a little bit. I mean, a lot of songwriters that I speak to say there's no choice for them. They've got that actually. In fact, some of them say that they don't write songs. Songs come to them, or the music and everything comes to them. The song's already there, and they just give birth to it. Where do you stand on that? I mean, given the fact that you obviously you're properly trained as well, you've been to Guildhall and whatever.
Royal Academy of Music.
Royal Academy. do you believe that it's just out there in the ether, or do you believe that it's something you work at, or where's it
absolutely sit? A bit of both. It's a bit of this left right brain thing again. There's two of the tunes that I've written, and they're not songs, they're tunes that seem to be some of the most popular things I've written so far, literally just came to me. And one of them is a song I've got on my album From the Shadows called Just Contented. And I was cycling through the villages. My little boy was on the back of the bike, and I'm just cycling away. And this tune suddenly came to me. And it literally just came to me. I was like, oh, I like that. And then I didn't have a phone that I could record on at the time. I did have a mobile, but it was one of those really tiny little nothings. But I did have an answering machine at home. And I thought, I know I'm going to forget this. By the time I get home, I get him off the bike. He's screaming. He wants, you know what I mean? It's just, I was going to forget it. So I rang my answering machine and sang it to my answering machine. So when I got home, I could remember the tune. And it just happened. So some things definitely just happen. And then other things definitely need working on. Or I'll get a snippet of something, and then it's like, what do you do with that? I've got one snippet at the moment I've had for about a year or two, and it's still in my head. And I know there's a really good song in there waiting to come out, and I have no idea what to do with it. I've got a little bit of tune and one phrase, and I don't know what to do with it yet. I've got to sit down at some point and make something happen, or try and make it, and then hopefully it will start to flow. But
now you see some people, when they say that, they then naturally gravitate towards trying to work those ideas through with somebody else, because you share that little bit, and then maybe people jam. That's a technical term for you folks out there. That doesn't mean make stuff with sugar and fruit. But you play those things over with somebody else, and they add their little interpretation to it. And actually, some people find that that's really helpful in terms of then growing an idea. Has that ever?
I've done that. I have done that. I haven't thought about it with this one. I might. I'd be quite fussy with one or two tunes. I'm quite fussy about who I'd go with. But I wrote a whole show with a friend once, and that started. Right. I had an idea in my head about one thing, and then it was one of those things. We were at school gates waiting for the kids to be picked up, and we're going, oh, she's so lucky she's got this, and she's got a big house, or she's got a husband who does whatever, and it's always like she's got this, she's got that. And we went, somebody should write a song about that. And then we looked at each other and went, why don't we try? And we did, and we wrote a song called She's Got It Made. And it's literally all about that. We sort of set it in a gym, so we have to do an aerobics class as we sing it. But we ended up writing more songs like When Is the Time for Me, and various things. And we ended up making a show out of it called Ifs, Buts and Babies, which we toured around the country for a few years.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of fun. Hello again.
Hi, I don't know what's upsetting the dog today. Dog, please, shush.
I'm not even playing my trumpet.
Yeah. Good meeting. Yes. Hello. Nice meeting you too. I mean, I've been the same way. I mean, I'm quite a creative chap. I find that even things like ideas for writing, etc. And once I was sat in a service station and I thought, do you know what? This would make a great soap opera. Yeah, because if you think about it, it was a service station. One of the problems I find with a lot of soaps that run for a long time is the way that they then introduce new characters, because it's all set in one particular place. And the problem with having everything set in one particular place is it becomes a little bit, it's not credible. Some of the storylines of how people have come into that environment. Yeah. But the thought process was, in a service station, anybody could arrive at any moment. So you could actually, so you could have a core character set, but it would be really easy to introduce new characters because they would literally just be passing on through.
Do you know what? That's a really good idea. It's a little bit like an advance on Victoria Wood's Dinner Ladies.
It is.
But you could have so many more characters in there. It'd be amazing. But you'd get it with one of those things, like with all the actors going, I want to be on that show if it got good. Everybody trying to get in there for a show.
Tell you what, maybe you should write a song. Maybe what you should do one day is just go and sit in the service station for a couple of hours. Just people.
That would be fun.
watching people coming to and from, and just go, oh yeah, and just write a song about sort of like the.
Do you know what? That's a really interesting idea. I will give that some thought.
Yeah. So listen. So that was then. What got you into jazz then? What was the turnkey for you?
Do you know what? The biggest thing, there was a local band up in Middlesbrough. We were on tour, and we used to go to all these different places, and we were doing the show we were doing and busking and all sorts of stuff. And we went and watched this local band when we had a night off. And there was a trumpet player, and he was improvising, and the band was good. It was a nice evening, it was just a good atmosphere. And I'm looking at this trumpet player, and I'm thinking, I know I'm better than you. I'm not, because I've been through college and I knew
not from a big-headed.
No, absolutely not, because that's
no.
not the sort of thing I often think. But I just looked at him and thought, I know I'm better than you, and you can do this, and I can't, and that's ridiculous. So it kind of
so
just
it's inspirational in a way.
Yeah,
you were looking at them thinking,
if he can, so can I.
If you can do this, then I should be able to do this. Yeah.
So so I kind of got into it more and more and more after that, and then I was sort of, if I'm singing along to the radio, I can't help myself but improvise around it and stuff, which I'd never done before. And it's quite useful when I'm teaching people who want to learn how to do jazz, because I know what it feels like. I remember all that, and I've got people who are literally going, I really want to do it, but I literally don't know where to start. So we kind of have conversations on our instrument and stuff like that. So
going back, you had friends that were sort of like pushing jazz on you before you were into jazz, etc. But when the emancipation bit happened, when you suddenly had the epiphany, did you suddenly immerse yourself in jazz? Did you suddenly listen more to jazz?
Oh yeah. I mean, I listened to transcribed solos. I did all that kind of stuff. But I came from a classical background, so I still had all that. And the thing that made it was kind of irritating and interesting. But it got to a point that all the people I've been at college with went, oh, she's a jazzer. And all the jazz people I hung out with went, she's a classical player. Right. And it felt like I just fell right down the middle. I'm like, I can do both. I've done that and I'm doing this. And there's no reason why I can't still do both. Exactly. Because, once you can play your instrument, in my head, once you can play your instrument, it's what's inside you. It's your understanding or your feeling for a style of music. And if you're into it, then you can do it with your trumpet, because the trumpet's just a kind of tool to get you there. And I don't understand why there's this whole diverse thing. And some people can't, but because they're not into it. But if you are into it, I don't see why not.
And actually, I think that's kind of nonsense. I mean, some of the best musicians I know, and I grew up with one. I've spoken about him before on here, Troy Miller,
right?
Who was he's a drummer, and he's also drummer, percussionist, orchestrator, multi-instrumentalist. At the age of 10, when we were in a band together, and I was 14 and he was 10, he was just starting his journey, and his dad would have played him Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan to death, and I would have been playing him stuff like Marillion and Prog and all things like that. So he obviously had this grounding in all sorts of music, but he went on, studied classical and jazz and etc. And he's got all of those skills and those sensitivities, but he writes pop and he writes soul and he writes,
Well, that's when you get some really good tunes, isn't it? Because people have got that background of, if you've got that knowledge and then you can put it where you want, that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly how to craft it as well. And I think that's really, really important. So, do you have your favourites in the sort of the trumpet world, as it were?
Yeah, gazillions of them. There's so many, really. It would be hard to pick out any. I mean, I know one that really kind of caught my imagination like a long time ago. I used to go down to Ronnie Scott's a lot because I lived in London. And
oh wow, cool.
We had a great deal with the Musicians Union. You'd pay something like 15 quid a year and get in for £1 or £2 a night, Monday to Thursday. So, if you're sitting at home going, what shall I do? It's like, I'll pop down to Ronnie's, because you could drive in at the time as well. You didn't have to get night buses and all that. It was brilliant. And
drive through jazz. Listen to that.
Yeah. There's Arturo Sandoval there. So I was hearing him do stuff, and then it's amazing. He was there the first few times he came. Everyone's going, oh, you've got to see this guy. He's amazing. And then it got to, I don't know if it's the British thing or what. And it just got to, yeah, well, he's not that good. He's not that good. He's just, they say he's not, I don't know, authentic, or he's something or other, they're sort of dissing him a bit. And I'm like, he's brilliant. I heard him do a line on My Funny Valentine. I'd never heard that song before when I heard him do it. I just loved the tune. I heard this tune. I was like, wow. Took me ages to find out what it was. And there's one line he did just near the end as a solo. And I was like, it was one of those just amazing. So he's one of those really fast, really high players. I mean, insane, blah, 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 all over the place. but he can put something more than that in, and you just do this slow, beautiful soaring line that just takes your breath away. So he's one. There's another guy called Marvin Stamm that I met in America a few times, and he's quite understated. I mean, very well known in the trumpet world, but quite understated, but beautiful playing. So I'm never, I don't know, the really, really fast jazz just because you can doesn't interest me very much.
Right.
There's some people who just like to do breakneck speed.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's never exciting, but it just gets to the point I just go, and
I was always a little bit like that with guitarists.
Right.
Yeah. I
must admit, just turn up to 11 and go.
Well, it's what I call widdly.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like, every solo is just as fast as it can be, lots of tapping on, tapping off, etc. But it's incredibly clever and technically brilliant. But sometimes it's almost like there's so much there that there's too much, And
it doesn't feel like music so much. It feels more like a race or something. It's like it doesn't feel like,
it can just feel like showing off.
Yeah, and no kind of real expression or feeling. So
yeah, and we we've all had those experiences in if you've ever been a guitarist, you've all had those experiences in guitar shops where you go to try out a guitar. And there's always somebody in there that goes, "Oh, are you interested in that one?" And they take it off of you, and then they pedal it as fast as they can, and then hand it back to you with a good big smile on their face, But fortunately, and this is a story I think I have told before. When I was in one band at university, we had a guy called Chris who could play really good jazz guitar, and he used to come in with us to when we were doing guitar shopping, and the guy would take the guitar and he would do all of this, and he'd take it back and he'd go, "Oh, interesting," and then he'd start playing jazz, and then he'd hand it back and go, "Would you like a go?" and they couldn't. Which always delighted me immensely.
Yeah, I can understand that. Fantastic.
So it's like, look at the nuances of this, and that's so much more interesting. So I totally get that. That's great that you found these people. And in terms of inspiration now for yourself, in terms of songwriting, do you take inspiration from other people that are writing currently, or is it literally just, you shut everybody else out really when it comes to writing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've been in a songwriters group over the last 2 or 3 years, which has been amazing. And they kind of just put some prompts out and you just go and write something about that, So that's been quite interesting, just to give me something to do. And when I wrote most of the stuff on my album From the Shadows, I had something I wanted to write about, like a subject or a feeling or something. So, I just went with that and sort of, I think it's just the fact of all the music I've kind of had going around in my system for a long time, and the words and the reading and the life experience and all that. I think it just all kind of begins to come to, you try to write about something and all that kind of hopefully comes in and helps you do it. And then, like we said, you've got to kind of, at some point, you've got to do a bit of crafting on there as well, because otherwise, nothing's ever going to come out completely fully fledged. I don't think. You've got to then do the detail stuff on it. But I think it's just a mix of everything that you already know. I think it would be quite hard to go to somebody too specifically, because it would be hard to not start doing what they do. I mean, I did do one thing. One of my tunes is called On the Way. It's deliberately in my head, based on South African Township.
Right.
Now, whether anybody who is really into that would recognize that instantly, I have no idea. But I wanted to do something because I love that sort of tune and I love playing all those things. Every single one I've ever played is in the key of F major, which probably doesn't mean something to everybody, but they're all in that key. And if I tried to do anything in that key, it came out of something else that I already heard. So I just shifted it into a different key. And then I thought, let me try and do it in a totally different key. And suddenly I could write my own because it was something different.
Wow. Yeah.
And I have noticed with something I did a long, long time ago, there was an idea, funnily enough, coming from Arturo Sandoval when I did a demo with a band I had a long time ago. and he did a kind of a piccolo trumpet solo that was kind of quite classical type style, and then went into a funk piece. I went, what a great idea. So I said to the guys in the band, I want to do a bit of the Telemann trumpet concerto on my piccolo. And these are guys who've done, you know, calypso and pop and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, just want to do a bit of classical. They're like, what? Because they had to play behind me. And then we're going into this funk track, and they were looking at me like I'd gone completely demented. So fortunately, I went, now I'm going to do it. And we did it. And at the end, I went, do you know what? That sounds quite good. I was like, thank you. Well, 2 or 3 years later, I found a recording of my inspiration for that. And it was nothing like, you know, it just shows how, I mean, for that one, it was an idea I'd had and it just simmered in my head. And then I'd gone to that thinking I was actually doing quite a copy. You know, I felt like I was making a copy of it really, but it was a demo, so it didn't really matter. And then when I heard it back, I was like, it was nothing like, because I've done my version, I guess.
Yeah,
you know,
and it's
you actually
on.
can't be somebody else, even if you try. So
yeah. You mentioned a really good little technique or tip there, and even people that don't understand keys, right, and or not that musically blessed, etc. But if you're if you're a guitarist and you're picking up a guitar or whatever, you might notice that if you move a capo on the guitar, okay, that actually playing the same thing but with a capo, it can sound completely different, and it gives it a completely different feel. So,
yeah, you can do, if you do a tune in a different key than you normally do, you'll play a totally different sort of solo because it's in a different key.
Yeah,
which is can be quite interesting. Can be nightmare, but it can be quite interesting.
Now, listen, in your little bio, thank you, that you sent me, etc. You mentioned some of the things that you've done in the part. There was a name on there that I recognised, which is Jane McDonald.
Right.
So did you actually ever play with Jane McDonald?
Yeah. We did a tour. It was a really, really brilliant tour. We had such a good time doing it. And it was when my daughter was a few months old, and I got this tour, and I'm like, I am not doing this tour. It was mayhem, but you know, yeah, I did that tour with her, and she was brilliant. And I've worked with various people who have been, you know, people everybody thinks are wonderful and really not, but she was really genuine, really nice, and it was a good vibe. The whole band, it was just really good fun.
Are you slightly jealous that you haven't got part of the travel around the world and holiday in different locations gig then? I mean, because that because I must admit, we watched that show thinking, oh, Jane, come on, take us with you.
That would be kind of pretty cool. I must admit, it's like I did various bits of touring and, you know, going all over the world in different places, and I was traveling to America quite a bit and all that, and then I had the kids, and then my personal life went down the tubes completely, which meant it was really hard to kind of, well, it would almost impossible to actually tour. So I haven't really been able to tour for a long time, but you know, we're getting to the point where potentially I might be able to again. Yeah. So it was, you know, because trying to do wall-to-wall babysitters and touring doesn't really work.
Yeah. So Jane, look, you know, if you're watching, right?
Remember me.
And you remember your friend here, and you know, you just want to maybe take her to the Maldives or something like that for a, you know, quick,
yes, please,
regroup. That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be pretty cool. Yeah, I could live with that.
You could do some jazz.
Yeah, together. Anything.
Don't mind.
No, exactly. I'm a freelance trumpet player. I'll do whatever.
Yeah, you might have to do one of those corny videos that she does with the song at the end of these. But I mean, you know.
Yeah, done it.
I'm sure it really wouldn't matter. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Likewise.
In terms of where people can hear your music, where's the best place for them to go?
If you look up my name, Avelia Moisey, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, you know, all the usual kind of, or wherever you normally stream and stuff, it's all on there. It's available on places like Amazon, and I don't know where else that you can buy stuff online, like MP3s and stuff. My website address is www.avelia.co.uk, and you can always contact me through that, and we've got CDs that you can actually buy, but that's just through me at the moment. Yeah, hold on. Ta-da!
It's a real CD, folks. with real music on it.
So yeah, all those, and my website is about to be updated. I've been working on it for the last couple of weeks, and I actually can do most of it myself now, which is exciting. So that's going to be coming out. Like the new version is coming out, same address, but coming out in a week or so, hopefully. I said that about a year ago, and I said it's going to come out soon, and didn't. So I'm slightly wary of saying that, but it's that close to being ready now. So hopefully the new version will come out, because when you start doing something new, the old one looks like nah, and you just need the new one out. So
yeah, you do. Stephen, who's a fan of the show, says check out the trumpet playing by the Sutton Town Ultras on Twitter. There you go. There's another one.
Okay, we'll have to do that.
Yeah. Actually, maybe we can arrange that as well. Maybe if they're on Twitter, maybe we can tag them in. Maybe we can get them to do a special gig with Avelia. Would be cool. we can make these things happen.
All this collaboration going on. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Collabs are the way forward. Put it this way, look at all of the young whippersnappers out there. They're all doing collab albums all the time.
Absolutely.
At the moment. Yeah, that's just a project within a project. Really, when you're waiting for the next album to come out, you just collab with people for 5 minutes or so. There you go.
To do that with a friend from America. She's coming over in August, and
brilliant.
she's going to come and stay for a couple of days. We've never actually met except online, but we have written one song together already. So we're hoping to write another one and maybe even record it while she's here.
And what does she do? What does she?
She's a singer and pianist and stuff. So
I knew there was going to be piano in there somewhere.
Yeah, I know, it's really handy. I can bash away stuff, but not like I want to actually play piano for anybody else.
That's fantastic. Avelia, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having
me. Hope you've enjoyed this Another My Music. You can listen to this again on Spotify. It will also be going out on Blue Torch Radio tomorrow at 7 o'clock as well. So until then, bye for now.
Thank you.